everybody. I am here with Kellie, and we have an interesting topic today. Right, Kellie?
Yeah, I think so.
We'll
Yeah.
see. We think it's interesting.
Well, yeah.
Sort of. Dating divorced men with kids. It's something that happens, and especially nowadays because there's so many divorced people that have kids, right?
Yeah.
So if you're out there in
Versus,
the dating scene, most likely you know you're most likely you're going to come across that situation, is what I
yeah.
was going to say,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, because more and more people are getting divorced and we're having, all kinds of blended families and
Mm-hmm.
mixed families and it's different, when you date someone who has children because children come first. Children,
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
all have to put the children first.
Mm-hmm.
So what comes along with that is a lot of gray area that
Well, this is true. This is true, and it's all. I guess there's no right and wrong. I mean, as long as the children are safe and no one's getting hurt, there's no right or
Mhm.
wrong on how you feel. It's just whether you can. You can. There's the pros and there's cons. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
what
pros
works
and
for
there's a lot of
you.
cons. Right.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'll start with one of my situations. I dated a guy who had a kid. He had never been married, but
mm,
he had a child with a woman. And my issue was she manipulated him using the
mm,
child all the time. She was still in love with him. She always thought they were going to end up together.
mm-hmm,
And when he and I got together, I think the kid was 5. I think he was
mm-hmm.
about 5. So for 5 years, they'd been like a faux family, but he never married her. He didn't want to marry her, but he wanted to be a good father to his son. So then I came into the picture, and she really didn't like that and really flipped out. And I was very patient and understanding. I was willing to put pictures of her in my home with their
Mm-hmm.
kid to make the little boy feel good when he came over. I, always had fun stuff for him to do. I would have him pick flowers to take home to his mom. So I wasn't trying to exclude her in any way. I wanted to include her, but she wanted me excluded.
Mm,
So if you like our videos, go ahead and click on like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Thanks.
mm,
So I feel like that in that situation, and really in any situation, it's up to the man to put his foot down and make that decision. He was allowing her to exclude me and
yeah.
manipulate him, and so I just had to call off the relationship because I felt like it was she was always going to use the child to manipulate him to
Sure.
get what she wanted.
I mean, that can happen. That's not the normal situation, I wouldn't think, but that definitely can happen.
Sometimes, though, I think sometimes it does
Really?
happen that way when the woman's still holding on and not wanting to let go. And, I guess from the man's point of view, sometimes I think they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to, the woman who gave them a child, she's always going to hold a place in his
Sure.
heart, that no one else will ever keep, never, ever take. So, but I do
Well,
think it's up to him to establish boundaries.
of course, definitely. I agree with that. In my situation, they were that because I dated a guy with kids and he was already divorced from his wife, and she, I don't think she didn't want anything to do with him in that sense. So there was
That's
no,
good.
yeah, she wasn't trying to manipulate him that way. But I'll never forget our first date. When he told me that he had kids, and I was like, yay! I thought it was so cool. Because I never
Hmm.
dated anyone. So
Me
I'm
too.
just me. I'm like, yeah, that's great.
Fun, yeah,
I know, woo,
yeah,
kids. I don't have them, so this will be
yeah,
fun,
yeah.
right? And he was, and I remember he told me that later. He was like, I was so surprised that you were so cool with it because most girls go running for the hills, and I didn't know at the time why, but now I know. But yeah, and I'll never forget that his kids were really, really sweet. They're really cute, and he told me later that I was the first one that he had ever introduced to them post his divorce.
Mhm.
So, and I didn't know if he was just saying that, but I could tell afterwards that I was, and they were just really adorable. But the the cons are that sometimes the guy there's all kinds of things. The neat thing about dating a guy with kids though is that you can see how they if you want kids yourself, you can see how they're going to parent, but that comes
Mm-hmm.
into play
Mm-hmm.
too, because their parenting styles may be different than yours, and they may get very, like in my situation, there was a time or two when he got, his daughter was going to come over to do her, to watch television or something. And I said, oh, well, hopefully and they looked at me like she did her homework already. And I said, well, hopefully she did her homework already. And he got really upset, like, don't tell me how to parent, and I was like, whoa, okay, I touched a nerve, so, that can happen too. Like things, because I have a feeling I'd be a fun mom, but I'd be a little strict, and
Yeah.
that's a thing too, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I'm like you. The two times that I dated a guy that had kids, I was so excited because I don't have kids, and I'm like, I
Right.
love kids. So I just thought, oh, how fun will this be? I get to be the stepmom without being the hard, the hard
Yeah,
part.
without birthing the babies.
Yeah, and and I welcomed a relationship with the exes, and I like the idea of being a blended family and being mature about it.
Sure.
And I've always been one of those people when my relationship ends with someone, I'm not going to hold on to them or hold them back. I want them to be happy, and their new girlfriend, wife, whatever, I'll bring her into our circle too. It's fine with me. So I don't have a problem with that, but some people do. They have a hard time letting go. They get possessive and they still want to hold on. So that's the issue I have. And then the other time I dated a guy with kids, this is very sad and emotional because his wife had passed away. And I feel like we had dated when we were very young. And so we reconnected, and I feel like we should have just been friends because I feel like he was still grieving, and I was perfectly fine with that, but he wanted a romantic relationship, and I didn't feel like I had a special place in his heart. I felt like I was more, I was someone to lean on, and I was more than glad to do that and be that for him and his daughter. But he was emotionally unavailable. And I think I deserve more than that. I don't think I deserve, to be used, in that way. So for me, it's sad because the person that I am would want to be there for him. But I finally had to cut it off, all communication, because he kept wanting to make it a romantic relationship. And it wasn't fair to me. So I wanted to stay his friend and be his friend and help him mourn and let him mourn and feel free to talk about her to me. And there was so much more, and I feel bad. I mean, so much more to it. He really went above and beyond to try to make me happy. And I asked him at the end, I said, why did you do those things? You shouldn't have. If you didn't feel like letting go of her, you shouldn't. You should hang on to her as long as you want to hang on to her, as long as you feel like you need to. You're still grieving and mourning, but also it's not fair to the new person. If you're not ready to move on. So that's not about the daughter. So then the relationship with the daughter, she was hurt and she was grieving and she was torn between wanting her dad to be happy, but not wanting someone new. And so that was a really difficult situation because it wasn't just a divorce. It was a loss, a big loss. So that was another rough situation.
That's sad. And also for me, like I said, I'd never dated anyone with kids before. So this particular person, which I understand, but he had a real hard time, multitasking. Like if we were on a date and he brought the kids, it was like tunnel vision, like I could have been kidnapped and he would be, where'd she go? It was like, and I was just wasn't used to it. I was like, well, what about me?
Yeah, I know that feeling too.
So, and I don't think I was selfish. I just wasn't used to it. So in the beginning, it's probably not good unless you have kids yourself to go on too many dates with the kids along, maybe, I don't know. That's something you got to determine for yourself.
Yeah, but I just think it's up to the individuals where you are in your life and what you're looking for and, what you're willing to settle for.
Yeah, that's true.
The last relationship, we even went to counseling, went to therapy, but then he would sit there and lie And so I didn't go back. I'm like, I'm not going back if you're not going to be honest, if you're not,
Right.
but I feel like he was emotionally unavailable with his wife too. And I feel like he felt a lot of guilt. I think he had I think he's just an emotionally unavailable person, period. And he has some things he has to work out on his own that are
Probably
his
so,
own
yeah.
issues, that probably affected the daughter also. I
Mhm.
didn't feel like his relationship with his daughter was healthy. I
Mhm.
always encouraged him, hey, spend a day with her by yourself, you two, spend the day together. And he didn't seem to have any interest.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so
also the new thing now is like when I was with this person and his daughter, he had joint custody, so there'd be weekends he didn't have the kids, right? And the one daughter was having problems with her mother, so she would text him all the time, "Come pick me up, come pick me up." And I was always like, "Oh my gosh!" It was like wherever we were, "You got to come get me, rescue me." And I would
uh,
be like, dating with someone with a teenager and texting. It's like, you
oh
know,
yeah,
you
that's a
know,
whole different ballgame, because when they're teenagers, that's probably normal. They're fighting
like
with
a
their
lot of
parents.
drama. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But I
So
used to
yeah.
always stick up for his wife because I felt bad, because she was having a hard time with her mom, which teenage girls do. I remember I had
Hmm.
times with my mom,
Hmm. Yeah.
and so I would always stick up for the ex-wife though. But I'd be like, that's just how the dynamics between mothers and daughters is very, I'm sure everybody knows that, right? But he was kind of secretly glad, I think, that they weren't getting along. And I'd always say,
It's like, I'm winning.
yeah, right. I'm like, but you got to understand, when she gets older, that relationship is just as important as yours for her development. So I was
Hmm.
always like sticking up for her,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
kind of weird. I guess most women wouldn't do that, but I
Yeah.
knew it would be. I mean, I
Yeah.
knew he
No,
should.
I think that was a good thing to do, to point
Right,
out to him, to help
right,
him. Yeah.
yeah, with his
That was good.
maturity.
Yeah. Well, and relationships are hard anyway, but then these, having a divorce and having to share custody of a child, or, your child, I can't imagine loving anyone more on earth than your own
Sure,
child and wanting the
sure.
best for them. And how do you do it? How do you navigate that when you're not living under the same roof?
Yeah, I know, and I know it's hard too because I can imagine the guilt that they feel, for not
Hmm.
making it work. They feel guilty. But then there was also this other weird dynamic too, where the girls started getting close to me, and he even said, like, I'm feeling like he almost discouraged it, because I think he felt a little. I don't know if he felt jealous, but also maybe like, what if this doesn't work out? Then what's going to happen with you guys? So
Right.
there's many things to navigate
Yeah.
before that adds an extra element if you really want to get serious with somebody, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say time overcomes a lot of it. If you can
Mm-hmm.
invest that kind of time to overcome, all these emotional things and issues with the different people involved.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you can hang in there long enough. But I also feel like a little bit, everybody has to be treated fairly. It can't be just about, it can be one-sided.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the one dating someone who has kids, and even men with dating women with kids,
Well,
like,
that's true. Yeah, that's
um,
true.
the person who comes into this family
Mm-hmm.
unit, I feel like needs to be welcomed into the family unit, not feel like an outsider all the time, like a mistress,
Right, that's
you want
true.
to feel like you belong and you're a part of it,
Yeah,
an
and
outsider.
in my particular situation, those girls did make me feel welcome, so they were very sweet that way. It was just him that was having problems with everything.
Juggling it all. How do I
Yeah,
make
yeah,
all these people? Well, he had daughters, he had
yeah.
you, and he had an ex-wife. So he's got all these women in his
I know.
life
The
that he's trying to
estrogen
make happy.
overload.
Yeah. Yeah. That's got to be rough.
I know, it's true. I mean, he was a good guy. It's just that I think, he was trying to. I guess it was just all too new for him, and he couldn't handle it, and I couldn't handle the way he was handling it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there you
It's
go.
rough. I do think
So
though, with as with all relationships, nothing's perfect, and you have to learn to adjust and give in and compromise, and like I said, sometimes it takes time to adjust, to get used to things. So
That's true. The big C word, compromise.
yeah. So if you're thinking of dating somebody with children, which is
Right,
highly likely these days,
right.
just know what you're getting into. It's not going to be easy.
That's true. You might get lucky. And I did date one other guy. And I just thought about it. I dated another guy that had teenage kids, but they lived in Palm Springs with the mother, and he was very cool about everything. He was way over her, the ex-wife, and he was just like ready to move on, but he still was a good dad. But I think maybe because he didn't, it's hard to do the juggle thing like every other weekend. He didn't do that. He would just have them like on the holidays, and he'd call them all the time. But they were teenagers, and they were much more into their own lives, where I think
Right.
the first person, his girls were much more dependent on the person I was dating. So that's what made it harder.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, it is very likely you will date someone. If you're dating, you will date someone, if you're a guy, you'll date a woman with kids. And so it's just something to think about. You have to be ready for it. You have to be mature enough to do it. But the one good thing is that the woman or the man will be more mature in a lot of ways too, because they've been through a lot of things with their kids. So it's not like you're just dating somebody who's, they've done a lot of things that will have hopefully made them more mature. But you never know.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Right? Sometimes not, right?
Yeah. I think anything to do with kids, you have to be very selfless. I mean,
That's true. That's a good
they're
point.
kids. But I also think you can't, I really don't feel like kids should be the ones making the decisions and calling the shots, though, because they are kids. And I see a lot of parents, even these days, giving their kids choices to make decisions that they're not emotionally mature enough to make that decision. So I feel like in the divorce, sometimes they let the kids make choices and control the relationships because they feel guilty. They give them more money, and
Sure.
try to buy them off. And then the kids are smart. They become very manipulative.
True. True.
Or, the kids don't like you dating someone at all. They don't want you dating anyone. So they, undermine your relationships. And I don't think that's right to let kids do that either. I don't think.
Yeah, that's true. And I know, like, when I was a kid, we were taught that we're supposed to respect our parents and sort of be quiet, And I remember this guy that I was dating, he was like, wow, you have to earn your respect, because I was like, why do you let, your daughters talk to you like that, or talk about their mother like that? It's just weird, to me.
I think it's a different world now, though, with kids, because, when I was growing up, I didn't even think that I could get away with things kids do these days. It wasn't even a thought in my head. I just obeyed. And, I think it's good to give your kids, the freedom to think for themselves and give them teach them decision making, but not until they're emotionally mature enough to handle it. Because as much of a obedient little robot as I was as a kid, it didn't really hold me back in life, having my own opinions and my own ideas and everybody that knows me knows that. So
they're like, what happened?
Yeah, we talked about that already. I don't know. But no, I really feel like I had a really strong upbringing, and I was just taught to respect, my teachers and my parents and my elders. And I would never throw a fit because I don't want my mom or dad to date someone or something like that. And my parents were divorced,
Right.
So.
Right. That's true. Well, anyway, the bottom line is there's a good chance you're going to date somebody with kids. So there's a lot to take. It's not as easy as you may think, like I did in the beginning,
Yeah. Oh, yay, kids. Oh, no, not so much.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, I really liked his kids. They were sweet and adorable. And that wasn't a problem for me. It's just that I wasn't given the form that the rules ahead of time. I wasn't alerted about what to do and not do. It was kind of learn as you go, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't get the players' rules.
Yeah. Yeah, and there really aren't. So, I guess we wanted to talk about this because we've both had sharing our experiences that we've had. But it's different for everyone, and what one person is happy with, someone else might not be happy with. But we did want to point out, for everyone involved, that it's a more complicated relationship
That's
than
true.
just when you show up just with you.
You gotta, yes, it's a little more nuanced, as they say.
Yeah. So,
All
but
right.
it could be very rewarding too.
That's
I mean,
true.
I can
Yeah.
imagine, I wish, one of my relationships would have worked out with the kids, because I don't have kids and I love kids. So it would have been nice to be a stepmom.
Yeah, I know. And especially girls, because they could have done,
Yeah. You can buy them
brush
clothes.
their hair.
Yeah. Yep.
And I guess you can brush a boy's hair too, but it would have been fun.
Yeah. So we don't want to be all doom and gloom about dating
Right.
with kids, but we just want to, share our experience and make people aware that you have to go in with an open mind and be a little prepared for some.
That's true. An open mind, prepared, and maybe talk about it a little more. I didn't talk about it with this person, and we kind of just dove in,
Yeah.
So,
there's extra work involved, extra patience.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of reward too, I would say. The payoffs
Kids
is good.
are very rewarding.
Yes, just a lot of work. All right. Anyways, well, we'll see you next time, right?
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.